Good evening, I'm Roy Hobbs, and this is Soul of the South. Topping our news tonight is a story that has gripped the nation for weeks. The latest developments in the Trayvon Martin shooting. The neighborhood watch volunteer who shot Trayvon Martin was in a court in Florida today. After weeks of national protest, George Zimmerman was charged with murder by a special prosecutor and immediately turned himself in. Randall Pinkston has the latest from Sanford.
George Zimmerman made his first court appearance before a Florida judge.
Mr. Zimmerman, you're appearing here for your first appearance at this time for charge of murder in the second degree.
The 28-year-old is charged with second-degree murder for the shooting death of Trayvon Martin.
Remember your right to remain silent. All the other rights that he has told you about, you have to say nothing.
Zimmerman claims he shot and killed Trayvon Martin in self-defense after getting into a fight with the unarmed black teenager. Martin's family is relieved Zimmerman is finally facing charges.
We just want people to know that if you shoot someone that is unarmed, that you should be arrested.
Now we have to turn our attention to trying to get him to stay where he's at.
Protesters took to the streets in Sanford and in cities across the nation for weeks, but the special prosecutor insists they did not influence her decision.
We prosecute based on the facts of any given case, as well as the laws of the state of Florida.
Local residents celebrated at the Sanford Church where rallies for Martin began.
We got victory, and hey, look like it's peace and justice after all.
Zimmerman's attorney says his client acted within the Stand Your Ground law. The Florida statute allows people to use deadly force in a fight. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Sanford, Florida.
They plan to talk about the challenges that black men face as it relates to the Trayvon Martin case. But the gear shifted, and most of a church service in Sanford was spent rejoicing the arrest of George Zimmerman 44 days after Trayvon Martin's death. Dozens of people gathered at the Allen Chapel AME Church in Sanford to celebrate the arrest of the man who admits he shot the teenager. The pastor called it the end of a struggle and a step in the right direction for the future. The shooting deaths of 3 black men in Tulsa have many believing the crimes were racially motivated. Some are calling it a hate crime. The 2 men charged in the series of shootings are white, but the local DA isn't ready to put the hate crime label on the cases, at least not yet. Tim Harris says that everything is in the evidence. 2 years ago, one of the suspect's fathers was shot and killed. The black man arrested in the case was arrested, but the shooting was ruled justifiable. A day before the most recent shootings, the son used a racial slur to describe the man who killed his father.
This isn't hide the ball. This is presenting the evidence. If we can figure out what the motivation was behind these killings and it sufficiently meets the elements of hate crime, then we'll file a hate crime.
While investigators say they will look at all facts and backgrounds of the case, many in the community see things differently.
The crime is not only bad because of the act itself, but of the violence it might engender in the community response.
According to PT, if the 2 suspects are charged with murder, they would be eligible for the death penalty under Oklahoma law. Protesters showed up in the front of the Tulsa County Courthouse outraged that the 2 white men charged with 5 shootings could post bond and get out of jail. Jake England and Alvin Watts are free tonight. The protesters want the 2 back in jail. A Tulsa County judge says race is not a factor in bail decisions, and the only question before the court was whether the defendants would show up for trial. A longtime member of the Texas House of Representatives is stunned. A church where Dewana Dukes' great-grandmother was a founding member chose not to allow Dukes to speak because of her views on abortion. Dukes says she felt like she'd been branded with a scarlet letter. The pastor says it's nothing personal.
Speaking in the pulpit and when the community is gathered for worship on Sunday gives the impression that this church is endorsing this candidate or the agenda of this person.
Dukes feels that the timing isn't a coincidence, but coincides with the national battle over Obamacare, forcing Catholic hospitals and universities to provide free birth control to employees. President Obama was in South Florida trying to reignite the passion of his 2008 campaign. He told a room full of supporters in Hollywood, Florida, that he needs a second term to finish the job of tax reform. He told a crowd of supporters that the wealthy need to pay as much tax as the middle class. Meanwhile, Mitt Romney was in Connecticut today, where he told the crowd that with the Republican nomination pretty much wrapped up, he's going to concentrate on making the case against President Obama. He was joined by women business owners who say Mr. Obama's policies are hurting their businesses and the entire economy. It's called the Golden Anniversary for Birmingham, celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the Civil Rights Movement, and it will be more than a moment to remember. The year-long celebration and commemoration won't begin until 2013. Alabama Governor Robert Bentley was in the Magic City to help kick off the Birmingham 2013 Foundation. It's a fundraising event for the 50-year celebration. The governor pledged to spend $100,000 to promote civil rights tourism next year. Some of the festivities will include a heritage trail and exhibit. For more information, go online to soulofthesouth.com. The civil rights struggle isn't history for many of us, it's alive today. A good example was a Selma to Birmingham march. It started out commemorating history and turned into a rally against what many consider racist immigration laws in Alabama, Georgia, and elsewhere. Heather Vaclav has the story from Montgomery, Alabama.
You're part of this. It is like a vision, a film going off in my head. That we've come a long ways, but we got a long ways to go.
Montgomery native Henry Singleton marched alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 47 years ago. And this week, he traced his footsteps from Selma to Montgomery, supporting others in their fight against Alabama's anti-immigration law.
We all are immigrants. Everyone in the United States are immigrants. And to see them go against Mexicans and to go against Latino-speaking people, that is wrong. And the state of Alabama will pay for that.
The rally, which typically honors those who fought for African-American civil rights, focused around the Latino and Hispanic cultures and their struggles to repeal this law.
There's no reason why people leave their homes, their family, their culture, their language, and everything they know to trek to a land where they don't know the language, they don't know the geography, they don't know anything about. They don't do that by choice, they do that by necessity, and this is why the majority of the people are here.
And they are making their voices heard. Many undocumented youth like Victor Palafox say they want the public to understand why they are fighting.
This is our message, this is what we stand for, this is how we are speaking. Are you with us or are you against us? Are you going to choose to listen to us or to other interests? Who do you stand with?
Memphis took a moment to address some history on the 44th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s death. A section of downtown Memphis roadway changes its name. This 3,700-foot section of Linden Avenue has been renamed in Dr. King's honor. It's along the route of a March 28, 1968 Civil Rights March led by Dr. King. Memphis City Council member Berlin Boyd sponsored the renaming, and he hopes the effort shows the city has ended its healing and is trying to move past the tension of the murder. Urban prep students continue to defy negative data on African American male achievement. Seniors at Chicago's urban prep academies are repeating something some thought would be impossible. All of the students at the nation's first all-boys black charter high school have been accepted to a four-year college or university. Those numbers have been questioned by some, but the school is excited about what it's accomplished.
Urban Prep's results are no fluke, and anyone calling our numbers funky just doesn't like the sweet smell of our success.
Urban Prep has drawn international recognition for its accomplishments. The entire student body of Urban Prep's Inglewood campus will attend an assembly honoring their brothers.